Lopetegui was officially unveiled in the Spanish capital as the new coach of Real
Madrid.
Well,
that was quick.
So were his emotions. Yesterday was possibly, since my mother died, the saddest day of my life, but today is the happiest day of my life. It was a really strange press conference. You had like the VIP board in there who were applauding things that Lopetegui and Florentino Perez were saying. There seems to be a very much the rhetoric, certainly from Real Madrid, of them against us. Basically saying, I don't know what all the fuss is about.
Couldn't have just left this press conference and stuff for a little bit, to let the whole thing die down a little bit, let the World Cup start, get that out of the way, and then sort it out from there. But it does seem as if they're kind of rubbing it in the Spanish Federation's face, to some extent.
Yeah, Florentino Perez said it was a giant overreaction. Where do you stand?
Well, I think when you look at the political climate of Spain, and you're always having a political climate in the national team anyway, because there's always going to be a large group of Real Madrid players and a large group of Barcelona players. And there's always the competition between the two of them on who's being favored more, who's not being favored, depending on which camp the manager leans. Now, Julian is a guy that has actually played...
Julian, first name, because, of course, you
we
played with
we
him,
were teammates,
so
yes.
he
was your
my guy.
You were the main man. He was your number two. Let's get
Who was the starter? Who was the starter?
Yes, I was the starter.
Ah, yes.
But where he was one of the few that actually was a member of both Barcelona and Real Madrid. So he kind of was this figure that was able to bring both sides together, where... Let's say now you're in the camp and you've got the manager who's already been named as the Real Madrid coach. The Barcelona players are looking over there going, well, the Real Madrid players are getting more playing time and he's coming in as a sub and he's not and he's starting, and then it would draw up this big controversy where...
So it's the right decision to sack your mate.
I think it's a terrible decision from Real Madrid to make the decision when they did to name Lopetegui.
But he made the decision as well, didn't he?
Well, I agree. And it's tough because on one hand you look at it and you go, I get this opportunity to go coach at Real Madrid. And then on the other hand, you're going, well, but I am the Spanish national team manager, and can I not just get the World Cup over with and then take the job? But Real Madrid doesn't work that way. Real Madrid is like, we're the center of the footballing universe, and we're going to name our coach when we name our coach.
The more I think about it, the more... If Lopetegui was the manager, I still think they'd win the World Cup. Now he's not the manager, and Hierro is in charge. I don't think they're going to win the World Cup.
So if you were head of the Spanish FA...
I've changed my mind on it. Yeah,
you seem to be repeating yourself on this quite a lot. You
what?
may have told us that several times already in this particular show.
No, but I think they've made the wrong
Steve
decision.
Nicolaitis.
I think he's probably made
Spain
the wrong decision.
going to win the World Cup.
He was too hasty.
Who was?
The person who sacked Lopetegui.
Has Casey not got a point, though, in that you always say don't give players excuses?
They've got another excuse now. But I'm saying if Lopetegui was still the manager, they'd win the World Cup.
Well, what choice does those Rubiales, the Spanish Federation president, have when, if all that we've heard is that this negotiations was going on behind his back, that he knew nothing about this, that the Federation knew nothing about this, and that they were only informed 5 minutes before a press release was coming out? What else is he supposed to do?
But we also heard, he didn't say it today, but the captain, Ramos, was saying he was lobbying for him to stay. He wanted Lopetegui to stay. And if the players wanted him, they were all combined, they were a good unit, and the manager carried on. We've seen other managers. People say it's not the same as Antonio Conte. It's not the same as Van Gaal when they were managers of the national team, and we're going to another job at the end of it. But I think it's similar to that. It might not be quite the same, but I think they should have kept him.
But it was the way he went about it.
It was the way he went about it. I can understand they're upset with him, but I think they should have kept him.
The World Cup kicked off today.
Right, wasn't it?
Well, it did for Russia.
It certainly did. Russia taking on Saudi Arabia in the opening game, and a game that many thought would be nervy, maybe just the one goal in it. Well, boy, were they proved wrong. Russia completely destroying Saudi Arabia by 5-0. Denis Cheryshev being very much the star of the show, coming off the bench and getting a brace. 2 lovely goals as well. Why did this not turn out to be what we expected it to be?
What did we expect?
Tight, nervy, 1-0, 2-0, that sort of match.
There's a very easy answer to that, because Saudi Arabia were abysmal. Garbage. And the Russians actually played all right. But they scored some great goals. You got to and it's, I think, the biggest goal-scoring start to an opening game, I think, in the history.
Stato.
Yeah, I saw that. But the reason for that is Saudi Arabia. So you've got to temper how well Russia played with their opponents. That being said, the nerves for the home players in front of their home crowd. Great start for them.
It was a great start. Some lovely goals, some good football in it all.
And they understood exactly how Saudi Arabia were going to play. Saudi Arabia wanted to play out from the back. They wanted to play to midfield. They didn't do it particularly well. Gazinski, who scored the first goal, kept on closing down, winning the ball back. It helped, actually, when the number 9, who was playing just in behind, went off. And then the Golovin went into a position in behind the main strikers. He added that bit of pace. I thought he was excellent. He had a magnificent game. Great cross for the 4th goal, the free kick as well. He looks to be a star.
We didn't see this coming. 7 games without a win leading to this tournament. They look dreadful. We're like, oh, these hosts could be joining South Africa as the only teams not to advance who are hosting the
Well,
World
I think
Cup.
some of that issue was, look at the teams that they played against in those 7 games. They were playing some of the favorites of the World Cup. When you're hosting the tournament, all the big teams want to come play you. And then they accommodated that. And then I think at times, too, when you don't have a competitive match for a long stretch, you get into that cycle of just, well, we're looking at these guys and we're doing this, and there's just not that edge. So I think the Russian team is...
A lot of injuries as well.
They did have that. When they had to bring Ignashevich back out of retirement from the national team because they had so many injuries in the back, they needed something. But at the same time, I don't think they were as bad as everybody thought they were, or that their ranking is. Look, are they going to win this tournament? No. But they're going to get out of their group and see what happens from there.
But they're not as good as beating 5-0 Saudi Arabia. I mean, look, I understand that they look good today, but I'm not having any of that of Golovin is now somehow going to become a star of this tournament, or Cheryshev is going to be excellent. Russia, there's a reason as to why we were considering them being in trouble in this group. And that is because they're limited. It's a team that has their limitations. In the attack, they're limited. Defensively, they have problems. Akinfeev is the sort of goalkeeper that can make mistakes as well. They're not going to be tested by Saudi Arabia, and of course they were not. And they got off to an early start with the early goal, and that allowed some of that confidence to come in, and Saudi Arabia just simply had nothing in terms of a response. But Russia is not going to go much further than getting out of the group, if they get out of the group.
Well, their big battle is Egypt.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Uruguay should walk the group, should. The big battle for Russia is Egypt. And I don't think that's going to be as simplistic as some might think after today's performance, because this is Saudi Arabia. But am I not right in saying, we just talk about like what friendlies are all about? Did Saudi Arabia not put up a decent fight?
2-1. 2-1 against Germany.
Well, that tells you how we shouldn't really judge teams in friendlies, because they shouldn't have even put up a fight against Germany in a friendly, which basically tells you Germany couldn't have cared less, right? And we're only thinking about the World Cup, because they could have smashed them by probably 10 goals looking at them today. So, great start from Russia, but I do think people are writing Egypt off. I know there's a whole Mo Salah thing. Is he going to play? Is he not? I think he will. They're much better, I think, than Saudi Arabia.
Russia will have a bigger problem against Egypt, because Russia today played on the counter-attack. They kept on winning the ball back in midfield areas and then tried to play from there. Against Egypt, who defend quite deeply, they've got 2 big centre-halves that soak up pressure, and then they try and play on the counter-attack. If Russia have got the ball, I'm not sure they've got the creativity to open them up. That's when they've got the problem. The 2 midfield players that I talked about playing really well in those central areas, they're not particularly good on the ball. They're good at winning it back, good at closing down, but if they have possession, have they got the ability to find a pass and get it into Golovin?
Yeah, there's no question that Saudi Arabia played right into the hands of Russia and the way Russia wanted to play, and just be... I mean, when Saudi Arabia had was like 10, 15% more possession, it was because Russia didn't care. Yeah. Fine, take the ball, give it, and then we're going to go hit you as quick as we can. And if we lose it, no big deal, because we're going to win it straight back.
Hello and welcome to Extra Time. The World Cup is here. It has started, ladies and gentlemen. Lots going on behind the scenes as well. Antoine Griezmann's video. Would you have done that, Craig, when you moved Celtic to Derby? Here it is. Here's my big decision.
Might have done if there'd been the technology around then. May have stood in front of the mirror, licked myself for about an hour and a half, you know.
Ah, beautiful.
And
What a
Lovely thought that is.
What a lovely insight that is.
a minute eating myself, you know, and told myself how great I was, and then strung it out for a couple of weeks.
That's weird.
And then I might have concentrated on the World Cup, which is just around the corner, which might be of some importance.
It is. The first tweet is towards you, Craig.
It's Saudi Arabia, rubbish.
It is. 48-team World Cup after Saudi Arabia's performance today. Would love to hear Craig Burley rightly rant about this.
Shall I do a boiling point on it?
Well, it does say the hashtag boiling point.
I haven't got time now.
All right, okay then.
But it's, you know, we have talked about it.
4 years' time, isn't it? There's 48 teams.
It's going to be diluted.
Yes.
Big style. Diluted.
This person wanted a rant. I feel like you're just over it.
This is
He's saving himself
I
for
see.
the boiling.
For the boiling point.
Well, I can't change it, can I?
Robbo, any positives about 2018 World Cup?
Not really, no. As we saw today, Saudi Arabia weren't good enough, and there's going to be lots of teams that won't be good enough in the next World Cup. Well, when it goes to 48 teams, it's not the right decision. You need the quality in there rather than mediocrity.
Who'd win between the US and Saudi Arabia?
Oh, US.
Oh,
Hey, good performance.
Who would be the
other day.
goalkeeper, though?
The kids
Guzan
did
or-
great against France.
Oh,
Haters.
Not haters, other than the fact that Saudi Arabia is in the World Cup and the US are not. But that's
I said now. You didn't say 6 months ago when they finished qualifying.
what's this?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Panama is in and the US are not. That's fact.
Yeah, see how Panama get on. Right, what's this? Show me this tweet, because the thing is printed out weird.
Lee?
Predict the result of the opening game in 2026.
Oh, who's playing in it?
Well, so it's going to be the US.
Or Mexico,
Canada or Mexico.
How are they going to do that?
But
Surely everyone will be in.
they still haven't made a decision if those 3 countries are going to automatically.
Well, they've got to, surely.
Well, you would think so, but that decision hasn't been made yet.
So 3 CONCACAF teams would automatically be in the World Cup?
Yes.
Well, and then they're talking up to.
That means they get 6.5 places.
There you go.
places.
While Comebol,
Come on, the ball. Maybe get us another half.
come on.
remember there's 48 teams.
Oh, great. Fantastic. That makes it even better.
Venezuela still won't
Oh,
qualify.
hey, there it is.
Hatred between you two at the moment, isn't it?
That's all right. Come down and qualify with real teams.
I'm going to say the opening game will be Canada versus the Galapagos Islands.
All right, good.
That's my. Galapagos Islands are on the up. Getting better. It's an all-inclusive world now. Just got to bring football around the world. That's what people
Right.
want.
I mean,
Where is the Galapagos Islands?
part of Ecuador.
Near just where is it?
Part of Ecuador.
Where?
It's off of the coast of Ecuador.
South America.
Yeah,
Robert.
well, I couldn't understand what he said. It was just say it again.
Oh, I could.
Ecuador.
Ecuador, yes.
Well, why
I'm
are you
merely saying it correctly.
Why are you
but
saying it in Italian?
Oh,
Ecuador.
Part of Italy, isn't it?
Robbo, can Bernd Leno solve Arsenal's goalkeeping problems? Or should Arsenal go for England's number 2 goalkeeper, Jack Butland?
I would go for Jack Butland if you were looking at those 2 goalkeepers, but Leno, I'm not sure, is a fantastic goalkeeper. We've seen Karius come to the Premier League and not do particularly well.
Who's your
Butland-
goalkeeper at the moment? Czech.
Not my goalkeeper. Arsenal's goalkeeper is Petr Cech
And
and
Czech's
Ospina.
going to leave?
Petr Cech hasn't played particularly well. He looks slightly over the hill. And Ospina, I think, is a decent goalkeeper, but I think they're looking for a number 1. Butland could fit the bill.
Do you like them again now that he's gone?
I will observe them with... I don't want them to lose quite as much as I did before.
Wow.
Did you get
In fact, I might
invited
quite
to?
like them. I quite might
Did
like
you get invited round Arsenal's house or anything? Just for.
Funnily enough, I didn't go to the farewell game, that last game.
Were you not invited?
No, I couldn't understand it. I was most
Aren't
disappointed.
you banned from the stadium?
I am banned from the stadium, yes. No, I'm banned from the perimeter of the stadium.
Do you think that surely has been lifted now?
I'm not so sure. I think they hold grudges.
And you don't.
That's a man who
You
speaks
don't.
of experience.
Player of the year twice running, and then I'm banned from the stadium.
Oh dear.
Unai Emery's going round. He's going round the Emirates now, telling stewards, if you see this bald guy, I'm not allowed in.
If he starts talking about wing backs to you.
I know, I praised Unai Emery when he was at not so much PSG, Sevilla. He might like me.
No. No.
On a scale of LeBron to Neymar, how much of an idiot is Griezmann? So LeBron did something similar, yeah? The decision.
Right.
And why did
He's gonna
everyone hate that?
You're going to take his skills?
Because of this similar scenario.
Right.
Now, the difference, I guess, with the LeBron one is that it benefited the Boys and Girls Club, that the local Boys and Girls Clubs. And people didn't pay attention to that. They just paid attention to the fact that LeBron was sort of loving himself and holding everybody hostage with this decision.
Right.
Aside from that, Griezmann is in a different level just because of the fact that you have the World Cup in front of you and he's holding all of us hostage to listen to that nonsense.
Don't listen to it. Ignore.
Good advice for the show, of course, which is with you throughout the World Cup. You can join us on ESPN Plus daily. Fascinating insight into everything that's going on in Russia. Uruguay 8-13 on. Egypt coming in at 13-2 to take all 3 points. Is that about right, Annie?
I think it is. Uruguay is a team that is going to make it difficult for Egypt, and defensively Uruguay, I'm telling you, if Mohamed Salah is on the field, they're going to test that shoulder. Right. There's no question. Having played against Godin, having played against Jimenez, these are guys that are physical, and if there is an opportunity, it doesn't have to be dirty, but they're going to test the strength of that shoulder. They're going to test the strength of Mohamed Salah and see what he's got. And they're going to test his confidence and see if he trusts his body. If Salah's not right, I think Egypt's limited. And so, and if that's the case, then I feel like Uruguay runs away with this game.
That's a good point, actually. If there is, we shouldn't laugh really, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
If there's one group of players that are going to try all the tricks under the book, if he does play to try and get into that shoulder, barging him off the ball full pace, whatever, shoulder charging him, trying to get him to go down on it, pulling him at corner kicks, all the tricks in the book, this lot are going to do it if it means winning the game.
Salah will play. Apparently, that's what we're hearing. That he's fit and ready to go.
And it suits their style because, again, like I said, Higazi and Garba, the two centre-halves, that's where they soak up all the pressure. They try and play on the counter-attack. They've got holding midfield players. And unless Salah plays, they haven't got great ability elsewhere. We saw Sobby, I think it is, who plays for Stoke, who plays out on the left-hand side. He's a tricky player, but he hasn't done particularly well for Stoke, and I don't think he's quite good enough to make things happen for Egypt. So I think there's a lot of problems for Egypt. They need Salah to play. And Uruguay, we talked about their defenders, we've talked about their attacking players being really top-class players, but Vecino and Bentancur in midfield are starting to become really good players.
Is he fit? That's the question.
I don't know. I mean, they're saying, he didn't reply.
They're saying he's fit. They're saying he's playing. And look, and I'm sure he's fit enough to get on the field, but is he? There's no way he's 100%, and that he's going to be, the player that we've seen all year for Liverpool. So where in that percentage is he? He's not 100%.
How many times have we seen people go to the World Cup, not be fully fit, start the game, not play particularly well, and then don't play?
It's interesting. There's a point you brought up mentally, like him going into this game. Where is he mentally?
Is he thinking about Liverpool? Is he thinking about next year? Is he thinking about a potential move? Obviously the shoulder. But then the coach, here's the deal. The coach looks round and thinks...
Has he got a bad neck?
Yeah. He looks round and goes, I don't care if your arm's tied behind your back.
Yeah,
you're still better than what we have. Now, are you willing to put yourself out there and potentially take an injury or take a hit? Are you willing to do that? I mean, what is it years since they've been at a World Cup?
Okay, stupid question time. Is there any argument to say that, as you alluded to, Uruguay are going to be rough? They're going to try and test him whenever they can. Is there any argument to say, okay, don't play against Uruguay, we'll save you for Russia against Saudi Arabia, because we know if we win both of those matches, we're almost definitely through?
That is, there is potential for that. Absolutely, 100%. So you can only gauge that if you're inside the camp.
Right.
It would purely depend on how fit he is, which we don't know.
What is true, though, is that Egypt cannot afford to have Mohamed Salah to be on the fringes of the game. If he's on the field, then you have to participate in the play. You have to be the key guy, because the whole team is going to look to you. They're going to look to you to break on the counter. They're going to look to you to be the one that gives a change of pace. They're going to look to you to be the one that changes the game. So if he has any doubt in his mind, if mentally, as you just alluded to, he's not ready for this, then there is no part for him in the game. I see a player that is going to doubt whether his shoulder is where it needs to be.
He has to be honest with himself.
Yeah,
as a footballer, you have to be honest with yourself.
Well,
am I going to go out on the field and give a good display, or am I going to, as you said, be on the fringe?
But surely part of you is also thinking, when am I going to have the opportunity to play in the World Cup again?
Exactly.
You can't think that. If you play badly, once you go on the field,
if you don't go out there, then you never know.
He will know from the training session.
But if he plays badly, he already has a built-in excuse. I went out there to try to help my country do something that they haven't done in a long time, and I'm just not quite there.
I think he'd be better off if he could get better in 3 days, or it slightly improves in 3 days, as you just said, maybe be sub for this game and then play in the next 2 games that they think they can probably win, and we'll decide whether they go through to the next round.
I think you'll see if things aren't going well, and maybe they're down 2-0 at halftime, then they take them off and say, hey, let's wrap you up a little bit and get you ready for a couple games.
And by the way, they are playing against a team that has Luis Suarez and has Edinson Cavani, has talent in the attack. So there's more to Uruguay than just Godin and Jimenez being rough in the back and the presence that they have in the midfield. Edinson Cavani can give you something with this team that he doesn't usually do with PSG. He'll work on the outside, he'll be defending, but also be a presence in the attack. And then Luis Suarez, that on the day he can score goals with the best of them.
Craig, you're the only one who didn't have Russia getting out of the group.
I think it's going to be tight with Egypt.
Even though, despite what you saw today, and despite what we're saying about
what did I say today?
We saw them win 5-0.
I've explained the opposition level to you.
Well, is there an issue that then, I mean, because of that superior goal difference, or assumed superior goal difference, that then Russia could go into the game against Egypt and just kind of go, well, we can just scrap out a draw here and know that our goal difference will get us through. So it'll be interesting to see how that match between Egypt and Saudi Arabia, does Egypt say, we got to score a bunch of goals?
I'd like to finish this press conference with a smile because it feels like we're at a funeral and tomorrow the World Cup starts. Ramos saying all the right things.
Well, as a player, you just want to get on with it. I mean, of course it's the talk of the town. It will be the talk of the squad, the Spanish squad. Of course it is. But just get the damn tournament started.
Yep.
Start talking about the football. And if they do beat Portugal, and they are the favourites, it'll be tight. But if they do beat them, then maybe they can put it behind them for a little bit anyway.
So much drama.
Yeah.
How much does it affect you in the locker room?
I think he's taking the right approach and taking that leadership role and saying, you know what? There is a World Cup to play. So regardless of what else is going on, whether Lopetegui is here, Fernando Hierro's coming, he's going, and Rubiales, Florentino Perez, all the storylines that are going around, we are the ones that step on the field. We are the ones that impact the play, and we are the ones that can impact the result of the game. And in taking that responsibility, I think it's something that he can take also to the locker room and say, look, man, we're talented, we're experienced, we've gone through a lot of things in our careers, we're more than prepared, and let's take this challenge on of winning this thing for ourselves, for the people that are here in this locker room. Not the ones that have left, not the ones that have come in, not the ones that have an opinion, but us. We can do this ourselves. I think that unites the locker room, and it'd be important that they get a good result and a good performance against Portugal. If they do that, then nothing to see here, we roll on.
It's a good theory. I mean, in fact, it could galvanise them.
And Ali's absolutely right. If they play well against Portugal, if they play well in the next game, they won't have any problems in the dressing room. It's if they start to play badly, if they put in a poor performance and still win, then they'll start blaming each other. Maybe you should have been doing this, you should have been doing that. They'll be looking at Hierro on the side. Is he making the right decision? Is he picking the right team? Maybe Lopetegui would have done this. That's when you have a problem. When they're winning, no problem whatsoever. When they start to lose or start to play poorly, that's when they might have a problem.
You've got Spain to win it all.
I do have Spain.
You don't have a problem with what's happened? You don't
I definitely have a problem with what's happened.
But you don't think it will affect them to the extent that they...
I'm hoping it doesn't affect them.
Right.
And I think we're still going to have to wait and find out. I think the one thing that it's easier for the players because the drama is not coming from the players.
Right.
It's not as if there's issue going on.
Yeah.
And
it's not like a Mexico situation. They got caught in that party. Obviously, all going
This is
on
a
there.
situation that's with the coaching staff. And yes, it has an effect on the players, but not as much as if it's problems player-related.
If Spain capitulate, it's only because the players have capitulated.
Right.
You know, look at the names: De Gea, Ramos, Piqué, Carvajal, Alba, Busquets, Iniesta, down the spine, David Silva, great season at Man City again. Then you've got the youngsters like Asensio, you've got Isco, Costa up front. I mean...
There's a lot of experience in that squad.
And that's not even before we get to the bench. There's a lot that could go right for this squad, even without Lopetegui. A lot that could go right. It might go wrong if Ramos has one of those moments that we know he has and he loses his head if it's not going right.
Yep.
And Portugal are winding him up and he gets a red card and all of a sudden the leadership's gone. That's the adversity we have to wait and see if Hierro and this team can handle.
It's an interesting point because obviously the first World Cup with VAR, the first time Sergio Ramos is going to be exposed to VAR. And we've talked about his antics a lot, especially after the Champions League final. He's aware of it, surely.
Yeah. And so is everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And because of the Champions League fallout, I think there's going to be a lot of attention on Sergio Ramos. And there's going to be a lot of cameras watching Sergio Ramos simply because of all the storylines that came out from the Champions League. And so now he's to the point to where he cannot get away with it, right? And whatever is it that he does is going to be scrutinized. But more importantly, it can be reviewed. And if it is reviewed and deemed upon that is a red card offense, then see you later. Yeah. I don't know that he takes this into consideration. I think
he's got to, surely.
Well, no, because I think he plays his game, and if he's going to do something dumb, if you have that within you, if you had that gene within you, VAR is not going to take it
There's
away.
somebody else that's got even more worry, and that's Diego Costa.
Wow.
Diego Costa does a lot of things off the ball. He reacts badly. And that's when you haven't got a manager, I know Hierro's taken over, who's going to take control of that? Who's going to make sure he doesn't do those sort of things? Because that's what Diego Costa has done time and time again. He plays right to the limits.
Because this game could go on, and 5 minutes later, or whatever it is, they could go back and they've seen something. It could be any time frame between the incident and the referee going back and sending a player off. It's going to be quite weird if it happens for the crowd. I don't know if they'll understand or be told how it's happened, but I think we are going to see it happen unless everything is clocked as it occurs.
Let's talk about the game. No layup, no Saudi Arabia. Of course, they are the European champions.
It's a tough one for them.
Yeah, exactly. Will they win it though?
I think they'll win it narrowly, but they're just a tough team to play against. They're an experienced team, Portugal. They've got some issues at the back, particularly with Pepe and Alves, if Alves plays, because Mane's old and he can't run. They're very slow, but they're pragmatic, and also they've got the Ronaldo factor, but they've got Bernardo Silva, who finished the season great at Man City. On the counter-attack, they could be a big problem. But they're going to just try and stifle. They're not interested in making it an open, attractive game. They don't care about that. And that's how they won the Euros.
Quickly.
Spain will win, I think. Still think they've got enough quality in their team to beat them.
Yeah, I think they'll get the focus together to beat Portugal.
Spain comes together and they roll on. They make a deep run in this tournament.